The story begins with a mother introducing her son to her friend's daughter. From today, she'll be living on the second floor of their house. However, this is the first time he is hearing about it, and he's a bit startled at the idea of living so close to a girl upstairs in their house. But his mother reminds him that it's her house, so she can do whatever she wants. She brushes him off and he greets the girl, who extends her hand and introduces herself as Minchi. She's a girl with a beautiful smile, brown eyes, and brown hair. He introduces himself as Jae-hyuk, awkwardly holding her fingers and shaking them. Jae-hyuk is 17 years old, and Minchi is 17 as well. They live in a two-story house, with the second floor previously used as a storage place. Jae-hyuk lives on the first floor with his mother. Minchi inquires if he attends Youngming High School, as she is transferring there tomorrow. She says they should get along well. At that moment, Jae-hyuk's mother rushes off to work, telling her son to help Minchi with her stuff. While she seems polite, Jae-hyuk isn't good at talking to girls, so he wonders how he ended up in this situation. Suddenly, Minchi asks if he has a lighter. This startles him. The innocent girl he thought she was doesn't seem so innocent anymore. She quickly becomes arrogant, questioning if he doesn't have a lighter in his house. He wonders if she's a bully as she draws closer with a cold look in her eyes. She comments that he can't even look her in the eyes or answer properly. She smirks, asking if he's a loser. This irritates Jae-hyuk as he feels disrespected by this girl who is going to be living upstairs. Later, Jae-hyuk is caught by a group of bullies who mock him, telling him he'll enjoy his bread and calling him a loser. He doesn't believe he's a loser, but that's what bullies call him. At the start of the semester, Jae-hyuk is approached by a strange-looking guy with red hair. The guy comments on his face and then tells him that he's thirsty and demands he buy him a banana milk from the store. Jae-hyuk questions why he should do it and tells him to go buy it himself. Suddenly, the guy slaps him furiously across the face. The man smirks and says if he tells Jae-hyuk to buy it, he better buy it or else he'll die. Jae-hyuk, holding his swollen cheek, is shocked and confused. He asks why the guy hit him, but Sangbom hits him again, saying it's because he talked back. Jae-hyuk starts crying as Sangbom calls him a loser. It seems Sangbom does this because Jae-hyuk is an easy target. Sangbom reminds Jae-hyuk that he had said he doesn't like red bean buns, so why did he bring them? Jae-hyuk apologizes, saying he forgot. Suddenly, he's punched in the stomach, and Sangbom tells him that for every mistake, there's a punishment. He asked how many punches he wants, but Jae-hyuk tells him 3 hits, but Sangbom laughs and says 3 times 3 equals 9. A barrage of hits comes his way, hitting him in the stomach repeatedly. A lookout then informs them that the teacher is coming, and Sangbom tells Jae-hyuk they'll finish later. They seem to enjoy tormenting him. The teacher enters the class and orders everyone to take their seats. The teacher inquires if anyone is absent and then announces that they have a new transfer student. It's the same girl from before, Minchi. She smiles and introduces herself, saying it's nice to meet everyone and she hopes they get along. Jae-hyuk is surprised to see her in his class. Out of all places, she transferred into his class, and now she's sitting behind him. Minchi is surprised to see that the loser living downstairs is in her class. What are the odds? Jae-hyuk remembers his mother telling him to look after her. But there's nothing a loser like him can do. Suddenly, she kicks his butt. He notices and turns around to see her holding a piece of paper. She shoves it in his face. On the paper, she tells him not to act like he knows her. Jae-hyuk crumples the paper. Even if he wanted to talk to her, he's too shy to do it. They have nothing to do with each other anyway. Later, though, when he passes her table, he leaves behind a paper. Minchi wonders what he left behind, and upon opening it, she sees it's a school map. Later in the boys' bathroom, Sangbom inquires how many hits Jae-hyuk was short of yesterday. Jae-hyuk tells him 4. Sangbom orders him to bite down hard as his jaw is next. Jae-hyuk braces himself for the hit, cursing the guy in his mind. Sangbom lunges at him but stops just before landing the punch, lightly tapping his face instead. He tells Jae-hyuk that he won't hit him anymore, so he shouldn't worry, as he's not that bad of a guy. Jae-hyuk, confused, wonders what's going on. Sangbom then says he has a favor to ask. Is Jae-hyuk good at studying? Another guy comments that Jae-hyuk is more of a game addict, but Jae-hyuk looks disgusted and wants to tell him to shut up. Songbom says he heard from the class president that Jae-hyuk was top 1 or 2 in middle school. This is true, but Jae-hyuk wasn't a genius. He just did well on tests. Sangbom wants help with his midterms. Jae-hyuk, confused, asks what he means by helping with the midterms. This irritates Sangbom, who orders Jae-hyuk to make cheat sheets for the exam. Jae-hyuk hesitates, knowing the consequences if they get caught, but Sangbom kicks him in the stomach, nearly knocking him out. Sangbom smirks and says he's asking one last time. Is Jae-hyuk going to do it or not? Jae-hyuk, in pain, says he will. Sangbom tells him he made the right choice. Later, Sangbom suddenly asks Jae-hyuk why his face looks like that and if he has a problem. Then, out of nowhere, he punches Jae-hyuk in the face repeatedly, telling him to relax his face. Jae-hyuk smiles as his nose bleeds and apologizes. Sangbom wipes the blood from his face, commenting that Jae-hyuk looks better when he smiles. They leave Jae-hyuk on the floor, and Sangbom remarks that Jae-hyuk only listens when he gets hit. Tears run down Jae-hyuk's face as he wishes he were better at fighting. He wants to beat the hell out of those bullies. Later that night, at home, Jae-hyuk is helping his mother cook. She tells him to go upstairs and ask Minchi to come down for dinner. It's super awkward for Jae-hyuk to eat with a girl, but his mother insists that now that they're living together, it's natural to eat together. Jae-hyuk reluctantly goes upstairs and knocks on Minchi's door, but there's no reply. He wonders if she wants him to enter, assuming it's okay to go in. However, when he enters, he finds Minchi singing and wearing only a towel. She becomes serious and calls him a moron, knocking him out with a coffee pot. When he wakes up, Minchi, now fully dressed, steps on him and tells him to wake up. Dazed, Jae-hyuk asks what happened. She reminds him he got knocked out and calls him a perv for barging into a girl's room unannounced. Jae-hyuk tries to explain that his mother told him to call her to come for dinner, and he thought she said enter, but Minchi threatens him, saying if he does that again, she'll rip his limbs off. She calls him a disgusting creep, leaving him speechless and embarrassed. At dinner, Minchi compliments Jae-hyuk's mother on the soybean paste stew, saying it's delicious. Jae-hyuk wonders if Minchi is only polite to adults while treating him badly. His mother then asks why Minchi moved there alone. Minchi explains, somewhat embarrassed, that she came to study. Jae-hyuk is shocked that someone like her would study, but Minchi glares at him with disgust again. She explains that her grandfather owns a building in the countryside and promised to pass it down to any grandchild who attends a university in Seoul. Jae-hyuk feels a bit jealous. Minchi says she's using this as motivation to study harder, but it's not the only reason. Unfortunately, since they lived in the countryside, there was no proper academy. She had only done sports since she was young, so studying was pretty much new to her. Jae-hyuk's mother thought it was a good decision for her to study hard and become a building owner. A grandfather giving a building to their grandchild was impressive. Jae-hyuk wondered what kind of sport she played. Suddenly, his mother interrupted his thoughts and revealed that he was the perfect person to help her study. He was their top student, Jae-hyuk. She was shocked that someone like him was the top student. She looked at him with disbelief and questioned, "Is this really the top student?" His mother explained that, although he didn't look like it, her son had never lost his top spot. He might look a bit dumb, but he was smart. After the meal, she thanked his mother for the food, but Jae-hyuk still couldn't figure out her personality. However, she whispered to him that she wanted to talk. They went outside and down some stairs. He asked how far they were going. She crouched down, took out a lighter and a cigar, and asked him to teach her how to study. He quickly refused, surprising her. She said that once she became a building owner, she would give him a cut, but he still told her no. He explained that it wasn't about money. He hated bullies and didn't want to teach bullies how to study. He walked away, telling her to finish her business and come back inside. This irritated her, but she quickly used her brain and offered to hook him up with a girl, claiming she had plenty of hot friends back home. However, Jae-hyuk didn't care. Even if they were pretty, they were probably bullies too. Then, she said the magic words, that there was a girl who liked guys like him and had huge melons. He looked around, realizing he had almost been tempted for a second, but he must not fall for such seduction. Suddenly, someone else declared that they wanted to be introduced to her. She had been approached by some thugs who were interested in her. These guys were some of the neighborhood troublemakers. One of them, smitten, commented that she was hot and that she didn't need to introduce him to her friend. She would do. He inquired about which school she attended and asked if she wanted to have a drink with them. Lowering her head, she told him no and that he should go away. The thug questioned why and informed her that he had a lot of money. Meanwhile, Jae-hyuk sensed something bad was going to happen. There was nobody around to help. Suddenly, the thug grabbed her hand and told her not to play hard to get, as she was obviously into men. Jae-hyuk decided to call the police, but at that moment, she informed the thug that she did like men. He smirked, saying he knew it and suggested they go for a drink. She slowly put her hand around his neck, and for a moment, he was sure he knew where this was going. However, she quickly kicked him in the neck and called him a pig. Jae-hyuk was flabbergasted, questioning what he had just witnessed. The thug fell to the ground, her footprint still visible on his face. The other thugs threatened that she was going to die. The blonde-haired thug rushed at her full speed, but she shifted into a perfect boxing stance. Focused. Her stance was almost like that of a black belt. As he closed in, she hit him with a quick jab, causing his nose to bleed. She followed it up with a hit to his chin, knocking out his teeth in the process. Jae-hyuk was in shock. How was she defeating them all? The strongest one screamed, asking who she was. She informed him that she was in the 3 Lifts 500 club and was a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He launched at her with a strike, but she dodged and struck him with an elbow to the face, knocking him out easily. Jae-hyuk stood there, trembling, wondering what he had just witnessed. She had knocked out 3 guys in an instant. He recalled what she had said about sports when she was young. Her training must have been intense. Jae-hyuk came down the stairs and approached her. She asked if he was still there and why he hadn't at least called the cops. With a trembling voice, he inquired about the sport she practiced. After a moment, she informed him that she did martial arts. Suddenly, all the memories of being beaten relentlessly by his tormentors came flooding back, and he clenched his fists. This could be an opportunity. He told her that in return for helping her study, he wanted her to teach him how to fight. She immediately refused, leaving him confused. He questioned why. She explained that if she was going to teach him martial arts, did he even know what that involved? They would have to get close, skin to skin, hugging and smelling each other's sweat, tumbling and rolling around. She didn't want to do all that with him. She suggested he go to the gym, but he complained that bullies from their school hung out at the gym. She told him that was his problem, and she wasn't going to help a loser. She would take care of her studies and he could figure out fighting on his own. Jae-hyuk thought it was a good offer, but apparently she didn't. Suddenly, the bullies began to wake up, so he ran off. That night, while lying in bed, he thought about the fight. It was no joke. Among the bullies, he had never seen anyone fight like that. If he could learn to fight from someone like her, how great would that be? If only it could happen, he might stand a chance against the bullies. The next day, his mother left for work, reminding him to eat a sandwich before he left and to give one to Minchi. He sighed, realizing his mom was asking him to deal with Minchi first thing in the morning. It was intimidating, but now that they were living together, it couldn't be helped. Maybe she had changed her mind about yesterday. Maybe he should ask her again. However, Minchi wasn't responding. If he just entered her room, she might freak out. He considered just leaving the sandwich by the door and walking away. But then she told him to come in. He entered and caught her in an awkward position, causing him to scream and cover his face with the sandwich. She revealed that she was wearing shorts underneath. Embarrassed, he apologized and told her that his mom had asked him to bring her a sandwich. She walked away, telling him to just leave it and go. He placed the sandwich on the desk and noticed an elementary school workbook. He pondered if she was really working on it. She must have just found an old one, but it looked like it had been used recently. All the other books were elementary level too. He remembered that she had said studying was hard for her. She returned and, noticing he was still there, angrily told him to get lost. Stuttering, he asked if she was really working on those books now. She glanced at the workbook and blushed from embarrassment. She slammed him against the wall, intimidating him, and questioned if he thought they were friends just because she talked to him. "What business do you have poking around my stuff?" she demanded, adding that he must love snooping around. She pushed him out of the room, and he apologized, realizing she was really scary. Before leaving, he stopped and told her that if she changed her mind about yesterday, she should let him know. If she was only at the basics, no academic institution would accept her, and it would be hard to study alone. If she wanted to get into Seoul University, he could help her. She threw a book at him, but he quickly closed the door, and it missed. That night, he received a call from his mother. She told him that she was going out and asked him to take the sweet potatoes on the table to Minchi. His mom kept asking him to give things to Minchi, and it was getting annoying. Understandably, she approaches him from behind and questions why he is creeping around outside her room. It's really a bad time for her to appear like this. He informs her that his mom told him to bring some sweet potatoes to her, but there's a hint of desperation in her eyes as she tells him to wait and not move. She walks up the stairs, cursing, and he wonders what has happened. She explains that she tried applying to 3 academies and got rejected by each one because of a level test, meaning they rejected her due to her elementary school level skills. However, he had already told her that they wouldn't accept her if she was at such a level. She decides to accept his request. She will teach him how to fight, and he will teach her how to study. On the first day, they agree to tutor each other, with Jae-hyuk helping her in basic English. They do a quick test, and he asks her what something means. She answers that it's a cigarette, and he explains what it actually is. He questions if she knows how to spell bus in English, but she doesn't know that either. She doesn't know anything, so they need to start with the alphabet. She questions if it's a crime not to know, and as a result, he begins with the basics. Her situation is far more serious than he initially thought. Now it's time to switch to fighting lessons. She explains to him that if he knows what kind of person he is fighting, he can win. First, they need to gather information on the person. She emphasizes that knowing one's opponent and their weaknesses is critical to winning a fight. The next day at school, she orders him to lift her higher, but she's too heavy. He questions how much she weighs, risking a dead sentence. She asks if he's sure they smoke around here because she doesn't see anyone. He tells her to wait, and suddenly, she sees the group approaching, including Sangbom, a 17-year-old. She asks if the one with piercings is his opponent, and he confirms. The bullies talk about the upcoming fight, with Sangbom mentioning someone who's become a pain to him. They plan to fight after school in the underground parking lot. This is big news, and she excitedly tells him they should go watch. However, he asks her to get off his shoulder, as it feels like she's going to break it. Though she insists she's light, it doesn't seem that way when she falls on him. He wears a hoodie and mask to cover his face, questioning why they're even watching the fight. She tells him they need to observe how they fight. She insists he listens quietly and keeps his eyes peeled, though he feels more like a lackey than a student learning to fight. She scoffs at his doubts, reminding him that they're on different levels. He shouldn't expect to catch up to her easily. He reminds himself she used to be a bully. Suddenly, the bullies arrive at the parking lot. The place is crawling with them, and a girl notices Minchi. They ask if she's here to watch the fight. Minchi dismisses it, saying she's just bored. The girl lights a cigarette, commenting that it's a good time. She heard rumors about Minchi being a bully at her old school. Minchi says she smoked earlier. Suddenly, the girl points at a young man behind Minchi, but Minchi tells her not to mind him. He's just a hometown junior of hers. He hopes they don't realize it's him, as losers aren't allowed to watch fights. An unwritten rule. The fight begins, catching everyone's attention. Minchi tells him to watch closely. The two bullies lock eyes in a tense duel. Sangbom questions why these guys are always so angry. However, the other bully tells him to move out of the way, recounting how he once broke his friend's finger during soccer. The bully demands an apology. Sangbom tells him it was an accident during soccer. However, Sangbom apologizes. Suddenly he attacks, gouging the guy's eye, causing him to scream. Smiling, Sangbam repeatedly punches the guy in the face, telling him he crossed a line. The other bully tries to punch back but misses and gets kicked in the stomach. The fight ends with a brutal knockout. Sangbam mocks his opponent, laughing while looking down at him. Jae-hyuk trembles at the sight of this brutal fight. Sangbam isn't done yet, delivering a vicious soccer kick. He sneers that losers shouldn't be cocky. The fight was harsh, leaving the opponent severely injured. Sangbam taunts the guy, demanding that he apologize for being arrogant. The bully, defeated and bloodied, begs Sangbam to stop, admitting he was wrong. The scariest part is how many teeth the guy lost. Sangbam, however, shows no mercy, insisting that he will apologize, but why is he apologizing? He then grabs the guy's on and grabs a fire extinguisher. Later that night at the playground, Jae-hyuk tells Minchi he can't do it, there's no way he can win. Suddenly, she kicks him, telling him to stop whining. She assures him that within a month, he'll be able to beat Sangbam. Jae-hyuk is shocked and questions if she truly believes he can. She questions whether he trusts her. Hesitant, he agrees to try, though he's still unsure. Despite his fear, he decides he has nothing to lose. The month later, the first semester midterm exams are underway. Sangbam mocks Jae-hyuk, asking if he's been studying hard, while mentioning plans to study abroad. Earlier, Minchi had inquired if Jae-hyuk was ready to challenge Sangbam, but he's nervous and scared. Minchi berates him for wasting all their preparation by considering quitting before even fighting. In class, the exam begins, and the teacher reminds the students that cheating will result in an automatic 0. Meanwhile, Minchi writes something on a piece of paper, glancing at Sangbam before throwing it toward him. Sangbam smirks, thinking that Jae-hyuk is quick. After all, it's only been 5 minutes. Jae-hyuk wonders why Sangbam is staring at him like that, as he hasn't even started answering the exam questions. But when Sangbam opens the paper, his expression changes. It declares that they will fight. Minchi is confident this will be the end of Sangbam. A month ago, while carrying Minchi upstairs, Jae-hyuk questioned whether this training would help him fight. She smacked him on the head, urging him to keep going. Exhausted, he continued with all his determination. Later, he asked if push-ups helped with fighting, but Minchi revealed she was just using him as a chair since she'd forgotten her slippers. Minchi later orders a bunch of boxing and training equipment which Jae-hyuk carries to the roof. She explains that it was sent by a friend from back home, then orders him to scatter it around the gym. She even asks if he remembers the friend with the big melons. Though Jae-hyuk doesn't respond, she was the one who sent the package. He pondered if such a person even exists. He tried to snap himself out of it. Now was not the time for daydreaming. They were beginning with the basics, a simple punch called 1. The second was 2. When she threw the punch, her power even caused his hair to move. She demonstrated how it was supposed to look. It's basic, just a 1 to 2. He would practice this 1-2 combo repeatedly without rest for 2 weeks. If he didn't want to commit to that, he might as well quit now. The training was intense, but his punches were so weak and slow that it gave her a headache. Despite his struggles, she patiently showed him how it was done, and eventually he began to get the hang of it. He practiced with dumbbells, though his hands trembled from the strain. Still, he didn't give up. He kept going, day and night, through exhaustion and fatigue, pushing himself to do his best. After a while, she nodded approvingly and remarked that he was improving. However, now it was time to learn some kicks. 2 weeks passed, and he had pretty much mastered the 1-2 punch combo and low kicks. His form was getting better, though she had once thought of giving up on him because he had been so bad at it. Next, she decided to teach him how to tackle. He was confused and asked if it was like tackling in soccer. She clarified that it wasn't. She asked if he had ever seen it in anime, but she explained that the tackle was a move used to push and take someone down during a fight. Since he was a beginner, just punching wouldn't be enough. He would need to know how to tackle too. She ordered him to try and push her down, which surprised him. Still, she insisted he give it a try, and he thought that since he was a guy, he could easily overpower her if he pushed with all his might. At least that's what he thought until he realized she was like a log. She laughed and asked what he was doing. He was baffled and wondered what she's made of, but before he could fully enjoy this thrilling experience, she kicked him in the face. If you get blocked while tackling, that's what happens. she remarked. Now it was her turn to tackle him, and she told him to try and stop her. She reminded him that Sangbam was bigger and stronger than him, so if he went for a regular tackle, he probably wouldn't succeed. She was going to teach him a special tackle. For the next 2 weeks, he underwent even more grueling training. Running upstairs with her on his back, doing Princess Carry squats with her, practicing punches and kicks, and refining his technique. They even sparred, though he lost every time. However, little by little, he improved to the point where he managed to leave a small scratch on her hand. In return, Jae-hyuk tutored her in her studies whenever he could, helping her improve her academic skills. After 1 long month of training, Minchi asked him if he was ready and warned him not to get cold feet. With a weak voice, Jae-hyuk replied that he was. His thoughts kept drifting to the note Minchi had written to Sangbam. What had she written that made him so angry? But Minchi shut him down, telling him it was none of his business. This was not the time to be worrying about such things. His only focus should be on the fight. Shut up and go win, she told him as he faced his opponent, Sangbam, who was smoking and looking ready to explode with anger. Jae-hyuk heart pounded, and sweat poured down his face. He was terrified, but he knew he could do it. The night before the fight, Minchi had crouched beside him, casually smoking as usual, while he trembled in fear. She had asked him if he was nervous and offered him a cigarette, but he had declined. She had expected this reaction. Jae-hyuk was shivering just at the thought of a fight. He questioned whether it was normal to feel this way, as he had never been in a fight before, and facing Sangbam was making him even more nervous. Minchi, unimpressed by his fear, called him a loser and ordered him to take off his shirt. When he did as she said, she told him to flex his abs. To his surprise, some minor definition appeared on his stomach. She told him that he now had a body worth fighting with, and asked if he really thought she had wasted her time training him. If you lose after all that training, then you're seriously an idiot, she scolded. The only way he would lose is if he psyched himself out, so he needed to have confidence. Jae-hyuk nodded and told her he would try. She continued to mock him, but then added that if he won, she would stop calling him a loser and use his name. She handed him a green lighter, telling him that holding it during the fight would make his punches stronger. Jae-hyuk accepted it and promised to return it after his win, but Minchi dismissed the need, saying she didn't want anything that had been touched by him. He noticed something written on the lighter and asked where she got it, but she refused to explain. Apologizing, he took the lighter in his hand. The time had come. He was shaking and his heart was pounding, but he tried to remember her words. He couldn't let himself lose confidence. He could win this because she said so. If he lost, well, he'd just go back to being a loser, no worse off than before. As Jae-hyuk stepped up to face Sangbam, the bullies gathered around, whispering and gossiping. Sangbam was laughing, mocking Jae-hyuk for wanting to fight. Everyone was expecting Jae-hyuk to lose, but he was determined to prove them wrong. Even as Sangbam and his friends laughed at him, Jae-hyuk remembered Minchi's advice. Fighting is all about momentum. If he could seize the momentum, he could win. Sangbam asked how many hits Jae-hyuk wanted to take. Jae-hyuk made a fighting pose and boldly declared that he should go first and how many hits he wanted to take. All the bullies burst out laughing, sarcastically commenting that his provocation was off the charts. Sangbam, still mocking, asked if Jae-hyuk had taken something since he'd been acting hilarious all along. Sangbam pulled his fist back, preparing for a punch, and questioned what kind of stance Jae-hyuk was using and where he had learned to fight. Sangbam stated that Jae-hyuk would need a good beating to come back to his senses. Jae-hyuk, however, calmed his nerves. This was just the beginning. He remembered everything Minchi had taught him. Jae-hyuk and Sangbam traded blows, but unfortunately, Sangbam hit Jae-hyuk right in the nose, which started bleeding. However, his arm was too short to make much impact. Sangbam, now excited, questioned if Jae-hyuk had returned to his senses after being hit. He punched Jae-hyuk again, this time mocking him, asking if he even knew his place. He then kicked Jae-hyuk in the gut, but Sangbam was still laughing. Jae-hyuk thought to himself, "This isn't right." Sangbam grabbed Jae-hyuk by the hair and began punching him in the stomach. The bullies thought the fight would end quickly, but it seemed too early. The girls in the crowd complained that the fight was boring. calling Jae-hyuk a loser and wondering why he even challenged Sangbam if this was all he had to offer. Trembling, Jae-hyuk cried out, asking Sangbam to stop, saying, "That's enough." The boys laughed, thinking Jae-hyuk was pathetic. Sangbam, though, decided to stop momentarily, commenting that once he got to this point, he started feeling good. But he didn't mean it. He kicked Jae-hyuk in the gut, slamming him into a wall. "How can I stop when it's this much fun?" Sangbam thought, planning to beat Jae-hyuk until he wet his pants. Jae-hyuk cried as he blocked the blows, realizing that even with all the practice and sparring, he was too scared to hit back. Then, suddenly, he remembered something Minchi had taught him: mental strength. Without mental strength, you couldn't win a fight. Unfortunately, Jae-hyuk's mental strength was weak, and he wondered how he could possibly win. Minchi had told him that if his mental strength broke, he would definitely end up getting beaten to a pulp at close range. But she had also taught him how to escape if that happened. He remembered her advice: cling to your opponent, and if you're not strong enough for a takedown, use something else. Jae-hyuk decided to use a taekwondo technique that Minchi had taught him to balance and bring Sangbam down. Even though he felt pathetic, thinking that he might die that day, he decided to give it a try. Clinging to Sangbam, Jae-hyuk did exactly what Minchi had told him to do. Sangbam, now confused, asked, "What are you doing?" Before Jae-hyuk bit down hard on Sangbam's ear, Sangbam screamed in pain. Though biting was illegal in official matches, this wasn't an official match, and Jae-hyuk only had to think about winning. He escaped to Sangbam's side, seeing Sangbam covering his bloody ear. Jae-hyuk began using the 1-2 punch combo, beating Sangbam. Today, everyone was in shock at Jae-hyuk's transformation. The spectators were stunned. Jae-hyuk, filled with new confidence, explained, "We're just getting started. Let's do this." Sangbam was furious now, wiping the blood from his nose. He tried to break Jae-hyuk mentally, questioning if he had really just hit him. But as Sangbam was distracted, Jae-hyuk remembered Minchi's lessons. She had taught him a special tackle to take down stronger opponents. Specifically, the groin tackle. As Sangbam was distracted, Jae-hyuk used his shoulder to hit Sangbam in the weak spot. The pain was overwhelming. Sangbam's whole body hurt, not just the weak area, and he fell over immediately. The bullies were amazed, and the girls asked if he injured his head. Sangbam was now staggering, seeing visions of Jae-hyuk punching him senseless. Finally, Jae-hyuk was getting his revenge. He thought about how much Sangbam had taken from him, how Sangbam had ruined his chances at a normal life as Sangbam struggled. Minchi realized that the fight wasn't over yet. Suddenly, Sangbam kicked Jae-hyuk in the stomach and grabbed his head. Sangbam was tired and weak, but he used his remaining strength to put Jae-hyuk in a chokehold. Sangbam questioned if Jae-hyuk had learned martial arts. Sangbam, struggling, responded that he had learned something from a friend. It was called the guillotine choke. Sangbam warned Jae-hyuk that within seconds, he would pass out, and if he did, he would strip him to his underwear. Desperately, Jae-hyuk punched Sangbam in the shoulder, searching for a way to escape. That's when Jae-hyuk looked down at the lighter Minchi had given him. In a moment of inspiration, he lit Sangbam's skin on fire with the lighter. Sangbam screamed in agony, letting go of Jae-hyuk instantly. Jae-hyuk kicked Sangbam's leg, releasing the fight wasn't over yet. He remembered Minchi's advice: to knock an opponent out, you had to aim for their jaw. If you hit the chin with the right force, no matter how big your opponent was, they'd go down. Jae-hyuk saw the perfect opportunity and used all his strength to punch Sangbam square in the jaw. With one hit, Sangbam fell to the ground, defeated. Jae-hyuk had won. The loser had become the victor, and it was clear that his victory was thanks to his incredible teacher, Minchi. But now that the fight was over, Jae-hyuk has one last thing to do: run like hell before the bullies get him.